All right, we are going to do Olympic National Park. This looks beautiful. I cannot wait to visit this place. If you've been there, let me know. I want to hear about it. Rate it 1 out of 10. Tell me, if I'm in Utah, is it worth the travel? I'm going to Washington in a couple weeks for I'm going to Virginia, but I fly into Washington. I'm wondering if it's worth the drive while I'm there. Anyways, so this is in my National Parks Watercoloring book. I have 21 outlines of famous parks that I take you through my step-by-step process on how to paint them. So we're gonna do this one. And we have a jar of water. I have my size 12, as usual, round tip brush from my brush set. And then this 24 color paint palette is so good. It's travel friendly. You can close it up, use these as mixing trays. Really awesome. So let's get going. Okay, so this has a really pretty sunset, very simple sky. I'm not gonna do any clouds. And then it's gonna come down into the ocean. So we're gonna do that first, all kind of in one go, because it kind of has like a foggy feel. So I don't need it to be dry before I do the water. So let's go ahead and do that. First thing first, if you know, you can probably guess what I'm gonna say. We're gonna use our clean water and just do water through the sky and where the beach is. And we want to move pretty quickly so that we can add those colors in while everything is still wet. I'm not being too strict on the detail of the trees and the mountain range because we'll just go into that once it's dry. This is sand, but you can kind of see where I have the line for the beach. A lot of this painting, majority of it, is gonna be this very loose, wet technique. Because it's so wet, if you find it warping a lot, I'm gonna probably have to hold it down the whole time until it dries. So if you have tape and you want to take it out, you could tape it down to your table. But if not, you can do what I'm doing. Okay, we have the goods done. If there's any puddling, you can lift it off. I put a little bit too much water in some areas. Puddling on the edges. That's pretty normal, especially when the paper warps like this. Okay. All right, I'm gonna had some green in it from the time before, so I'm gonna mix these two together and grab a little bit of this brick red. Because I want it to be kind of a darker blue, more neutral. And I'm dropping that into the top. If you want to, and you want it to kind of drip down, you can tilt your page like this and just let the water take it down. Grabbing straight from the tube for that top color. And as we get lower, There's some yellow that's gonna be showing through. There's green on that, so we are not using that color. You can use this yellow, or we have a warmer yellow over here, which is probably what I will pull from. And I'm just going to drop it in here and let it fall. And then we're gonna let these two colors, clean your brush off. You're gonna let these two colors blend down together. Okay, now here, because I had it tilted down, there's some puddling areas, and so I'm gonna lift some of that off. And there is a little bit of orange kind of showing through on the bottom. But if you wanted to, it's more like a really vibrant yellow. Lifting that off, I'm gonna grab this one, float it down quite a bit and drop it in here. And I'm gonna let that blend together. I don't want it super vibrant, more just kind of diluted. And as we move into the ocean, I'm grabbing this same blue and dropping it in here. This area is like a little bit of white, so we're going to bring our color up to it. See how that's a really foggy horizon line? We're kind of letting it blend together. And then mixing some more of this and using that same red to get this darker. And these, I've kind of drawn out where the waves are, so I'm gonna leave those white. I do want this to be even more pigmented, so I'm adding more. Maybe in this area white. We'll come in with another color, but I'm just leaving these areas white for now. I'm already running out of that dark color, so I'm making more. Just using both of these blues and this. I will have the finished image over here so that you can see kind of the vision the entire time. And if you go to the link in my book, you can download and print the reference photo so that you can look at it. Lifting some of that color off, because as you get further, it's a little bit less dense. As we move inwards, I'm gonna add a little bit more of this red. It like feels more muddy when you get closer. And then I'm going to use this light blue, bring it in a little bit, I'm mixing it with what we already have, so it's not gonna be so vibrant, but it is gonna be a little bit lighter. And I'm gonna start coming in with a very diluted version into some of these areas. Using my water. Maybe even use some of that and do some bubbles in this. Like, think of it like a cloud where you're just kind of doing, like, making it look puffy. A little bit here, a bit here. That's too dark, so I'm lifting it off. Use it in here. If you want to lift it off with your paper towel, you can do that. Clean up some of those edges. Pulling some of that color out. Pulling some of this out. And I'm going to dab it off and then clean it up with some water. Just like this. Clean it up again. There we go. Okay. So now we have like a brown for the sand that I'm gonna mix in with the blue that we already have. Because we want it to be pretty dark. And I'm dropping that into here. And it's going all the way up to the line that I have for you. That's looking so pretty. Like, look how pretty that is. Love that. Okay, and then it's gonna keep coming through. I'm gonna add more, because I know we're gonna need some more. But as I get further out, I don't want it to be as dark, so I'm lifting some of that color off. I feel like it has more of like a yellow in it. Okay, so we can leave this and then we'll come back and add in some of the colors once that's dry. We can, oh no, see, that's still wet too. Let's smooth that fingerprint out and we'll let that dry. And if the sky is dry, then we're gonna work on this back mountain range. And this mountain range is gonna be so fun because it's something called a drag and drop. This gives like a foggy effect. If you've done the Smoky Mountains with me, it has that same, that's kind of what we're gonna be doing. So I'm using this orange brown. I'm gonna add a little bit of blue. Basically, that's what we're gonna use. I do want, I think maybe a little bit of orange. And green. It's like muddy, but I want it to feel, yeah. So we're gonna do this orange, or this orange brown, the third from the top. A little bit of orange, a little bit of green. Kind of giving it like a green tone to it. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is you're going to do the trees, like pokey, like this, like the outline asks for. Cool. And then you can grab this, you can add some color into here to show some more trees. It really stays, like it's dark, like tiny bit on the top. And then we're gonna clean our brush off, dab it off, and then use the tip of our brush and pull, literally just barely put our brush down. And that's gonna pull that color from the top down. And if you want to add some color for it to like actually seep down, you can hold it down like this and use your brush, letting it drop still all the way down. This is a little bit more than I want. I want it to be more foggy. So I'm lifting off some of it that came lower. Then you can grab like a darker color, dab in some, like a second. There we go. Okay, and then we're gonna let that dry. Now that this is pretty much dry, we are going to do our base color will be like the same color as we used in the mountain range, but we're gonna cover a lot of it up. It's really diluted with water. Gonna go all the way up. These are kind of the focal point of the picture, so you wanna make sure that whatever you're touching is dry. We don't wanna bleed anything together. You want that strict line all the way down. I'm gonna do that same color for this one over here. Awesome. Actually, we can probably add some colors in. I was gonna say let's let it dry, but we could add in some yellow to the bottom of this front one because the sun is reflecting off of it a little bit. You're gonna use some of the orange, dropping it in, and then we have this brown that we have. This rock is not very smooth, so it's okay that it blends together because it gives the like illusion that it's rough. And then I'm coming over and letting that color blend over into the middle area. Awesome. This is more loose than I want because there's a lot of loose technique in this. Entire thing is all very loose. So I do want a little bit more structure. So I did pull some of that like bleeding out to where there's some texture, but it's not crazy. And then I'm using this same dark color and I'm coming in and filling this entire area because this is all shaded. And I have the outline for you. Kind of goes all the way across here. It has a little bit of like an orange coming through on here. And I do want it even darker, so I'm gonna grab black, bring some black into this color that we have, and really bring in that contrast right here. Okay, so once this dries, there are some like little trees growing on there, and we can do those. But for now, we're gonna do these trees. They're like a really orange green. So more green, but they have a lot of orange in them. And we're just doing vertical, just like all the other ones we've done. If this is your first video with me, you're just using the tip of your brush, being very light with our pressure, and loose. You're leaving some white space, but see that? Doing that for all the trees. If you want to add in some color after, this could be our base layer, and you could come in with some more color. Awesome. So once I have that, I'm gonna grab my brown. It's gonna be like a really light, and we might even add some like peach to it. I think it's maybe even called salmon. I need to see what the exact color of this is. And then I kind of want to use the same, dropping in some of the black that we had into that color that we just made. And that is what our sand is gonna be. Going over this, smoothing it out. Awesome. You can bring this green down all the way to the bottom if you want to show that there's some behind. Awesome, leaving some white space. Okay, now this is when we are about done. We're just adding some few details into here. I do kind of want to bring some of this yellow that we see in the sky into our water. So maybe we will put that very lightly. And this is dark right now. Don't let this freak you out. Bringing it in here. And then we are using a clean brush to kind of swipe through here and lift some of that off. And that will create a very loose, beautiful wave that is reflecting what you're seeing in the sky. Okay, and then we do have another rock out here. Okay, look how pretty this is. We need to do this green and make these tiny, tiny trees. And it still is slightly wet, but it's not going into the rock anyways. So we're doing these same little trees. There's just one little baby one, a little bush on top, one here. And there. Okay, now we're done. Thank you so much. I hope you love this one. Hope you're proud of your painting, and I'll see you next time.